the business of basketball. We understand that, and I know he's going to do well down there.
League madness has reached peak insanity. LeBron James allegedly confirmed James Harden's stunning move over to the Lakers squad, since the Clippers suddenly scrapped operations. Crowds are shocked, yet sources suggest a single last ruling might shift the agreement back, possibly altering not only the Lakers' fate, but the structure of dominance across the whole Western Conference. A seismic shock no one predicted. Recognize that sensation where you are lounging on the sofa, browsing through your feed, believing that you have a solid grasp regarding what is occurring within the realm of pro hoops, and suddenly from purely thin air, the whole terrain of the association simply turns entirely inside out on you. That instant where your mouth actually hangs, and you must scan the byline twice or thrice just to ensure your vision is not deceiving you. See, that is precisely what went down. The reports surfaced regarding James Harden and the Clippers in early February 2026. Right now, before we go deep into the weeds here, before we dissect every single angle and meaning of the events, you really need to grasp something truly crucial regarding the present condition of pro basketball. It is not simply another standard break we discuss here. This is not just some average trade deadline where only a few bench guys get moved around between squads that no one actually cares about. No, absolutely not. This is something entirely and wholly unique. This is the sort of event that makes you stand up straight, in your seat, set down whatever you are handling, silence the monitor, and truly pay strict attention to what is occurring on the display.
I think this offseason might be the most craziest ever. It's so thin right now, like as far as the thin line of what you can win a championship or you might be falling into the lottery. And I think the ability to go out there and improve your team and get there to championship level, I think that's on the minds of everyone around the league.
You heard what Shams Charania just stated right there? Did you grasp those statements coming out of his lips? He labeled this possibly the wildest summer break in the whole history of the National Basketball Association. And when a guy like Shams, who keeps his hand on the beat of truly everything occurring in pro basketball, who owns sources in every front office from shore to shore, who drops more scoops in a single week than most writers reveal in a whole year. When that guy speaks something like that, you best believe, with every ounce of your gut, that he's not just tossing words about for amusement reasons or to create traffic on the web. The reality is, the league right now lives in this extremely fragile and dangerous state that we've never truly seen before in the annals of the game. Squads are either real title threats with a tangible shot at lifting that Larry O'Brien prize in June, or they're dropping straight into the draft, wishing and pleading that ping pong balls fall their way so they can pick the next legendary icon. There is no middle road now, no cozy spot where a club can just exist and be happy with being average, reaching the postseason as a 7th or 8th rank and getting tossed in the opening set. Either you're taking it all or you're scorching everything down to the bedrock and starting entirely from zero. And that leads us to the amazing, complex, and frequently debated tale of James Edward Harden Jr., the Beard himself. An 11-time NBA All-Star choice, the 2018 MVP of the league. Association, a man tallying over 28,000 points in his pro career, placing him 9th on the huge all-time scoring chart in NBA history. A baller who quite literally reinvented the step-back three-pointer and basically shifted how the whole league tackles offensive basketball tactics. But here's the thing about James Harden that many folks do not want to discuss openly. Here is the giant in the room that always trails him. From town to town, from squad to squad, from page to page of his amazing career, the guy has been dealt 5 times throughout his stint in the NBA. 5 times. That is not a slip by me. That is no overstatement for dramatic flair. 5 distinct times. James Harden has boxed his gear, said farewell to his teammates, and relocated to a fresh new town, wishing and trusting with all his gut that this time, this squad, the scenario would finally be the one that brings him that championship ring. He is frantically chasing his whole pro career. And early February 2026, news dropped that would send total shockwaves, shaking through the whole basketball globe. ESPN's Shams Charania reported that the Los Angeles Clippers and James Harden were busily working through possible trade choices ahead of the NBA's trade deadline on Thursday, February 5th. 2026 at exactly 3 Eastern. Both camps were reportedly aligned in these talks, busily conversing with intriguing squads, which is basically executive talk, for they both need exit from this mess as fast as physically possible. You hear that? Totally vital nugget of intelligence right here. The Cleveland Cavaliers. Of every squad in the whole National Basketball Association, of every organization that might have surfaced as real candidates for James Harden's talents, it was the Cleveland Cavaliers that leaped up as one of the most invested groups in getting the 11-time All-Star. The very Cleveland Cavaliers which were once the home floor of singular LeBron James. The very Cleveland Cavaliers that LeBron theatrically quit in 2010 amid the decision, shattering the spirits of a whole city and a whole fan club. The very Cleveland Cavaliers that LeBron rejoined back in 2014, bringing them their lone and sole title in club history in 2016. And the very Cleveland Cavaliers that LeBron exited for a second time in 2018, going to Los Angeles to further his legend with the Lakers. The Clippers at this exact point in the 2025-26 season were at a rather dull 23-26 record. They fought hard to claw back from a totally catastrophic 6-21 start to the season. And a huge chunk of that stunning shift had everything to do with James Harden himself. The guy was posting up stats that would make most guards in this league sick with envy, averaging roughly 25.4 points, 8.1 assists, willing the squad back to playoff contention via pure strength of gut and attacking genius. But here is the awkward reality that numbers simply just cannot show you. Stats never speak the full tale in pro hoops. They never have, and they never will. Since despite Harden's wildly impressive stat sheet, despite his talent to put the rock in the hoop at a top tier night after night, the Clippers found themselves trapped in that risky and awkward middle zone that no club wants to inhabit. They were not good enough to truly vie for a ring against the top squads in the West. But they also were not bad, enough to fully tank the year and place themselves for a top lottery slot that could alter the path of the organization. They were just there being, treading water in a league that crushes average more severely than most anything else. And James Harden, at 36 years old, with more hoop miles on his frame than he'd likely admit, has no time for average now. He holds a 2-year, $81.5 million deal with a player option and just a $13 million partial guarantee for the next season, meaning he has leverage in any talks. He holds power. He owns the clout to decide where he plans to go and what he plans to do with the valued final years of his professional basketball run.
Michael, this is somewhat a stunner. The LA Clippers and 11-time All-Star James Harden are working through whether they can find a trade for Harden out of LA by Thursday's NBA trade deadline. Both sides are discussing, is there a mutually beneficial option? Is there a beneficial thing for James Harden to land with a team that he wants to go compete for a championship? This is a Clippers team that right now is in the play-in tournament race.
So there you have it, folks and friends. The scene was carefully set. The chess pieces were tactically in motion, and totally everyone in the basketball globe was watching with held breath, waiting keenly to see what would occur next with one of the most productive and decorated scorers in the whole history of the National Basketball Association. The trade that altered everything. Now, what went down next in this evolving drama moved significantly quicker than anyone could have possibly predicted or even pictured in their wildest dreams. We're talking about a crazy spot that rose from exploratory conversations and early talks to a fully done and sealed deal in less than 1 week. That is not normal by any stretch of the mind. That's not how these complex multi-million-dollar deals usually work in pro sports. But then again, totally nothing about James Harden's career has ever been vaguely normal or predictable. Talks grew hot on Monday and Tuesday, February 2nd and 3rd, 2026. Sports. Illustrated's highly valued Chris Manx reported that talks had reached an advanced and serious stage between the Los Angeles Clippers and the Cleveland Cavaliers. The structure of the likely deal was becoming increasingly clear with each passing hour. James Harden would be going to Cleveland in exchange for Darius Garland, a 26-year-old two-time All-Star point guard who had sadly been sidelined with a nagging foot injury since the middle of January, along with extra draft assets. And just like that, as if someone had snapped their fingers by Tuesday evening, February 3rd, 2026, it was fully done. The deal was sealed. The Los Angeles Clippers officially dealt James Harden to the Cleveland Cavaliers for Darius Garland and a 2026 second-round draft choice. One of the heaviest and most consequential swaps in modern league history was duly finalized in the span of a heartbeat, and the whole basketball landscape was left simply scraping their jaws up off the pavement in sheer disbelief. Now, let's take a step back and truly assess just what this move actually signals in the broader scope of things, because the ramifications here are positively massive and far-reaching for several parties involved. On one side, you have James Harden, a 36-year-old future first-ballot Hall of Famer who's been doggedly pursuing a championship title his whole storied career. The guy has 0 title victories despite multiple, long and promising playoff runs with distinct franchises. 0 championship rings. Despite being universally regarded as one of the purest scorers the sport of basketball has ever produced, he's been traded 5 times. Now, throughout his career, each and every time, hoping and praying that the next stop, the next club, the next franchise would finally be the ideal spot, where he could secure that elusive title that has plagued his dreams for over a decade. On the other side, you have the Cleveland Cavaliers, a franchise with legitimate title expectations. This season that just paired one of the premier offensive talents of this generation with their own star guard, Donovan Mitchell. Take a second to truly ponder that combination and what it implies for the Eastern Conference. Donovan Mitchell, a dynamic and explosive scoring guard who can single-handedly take over games at will. Now playing beside James Harden, a player who has won 3 scoring titles, led the league in assists twice, and claimed 1 MVP trophy during his storied career. But here's where things get really, truly, genuinely interesting. Here's where the conspiracy theories start floating around. Social media like wildfire. Here's where folks start connecting dots that may or may not actually connect in reality, but make for absolutely compelling narratives nonetheless. The Cleveland Cavaliers, LeBron James's hometown club, the franchise where he launched his career way back in 2003 as an 18-year-old kid, straight out of Akron, Ohio. The squad he famously left in 2010 during the decision, breaking the hearts of a whole city and burning his jersey in the streets. The organization he duly returned to in 2014, ultimately bringing them their sole championship in franchise history, with that incredible 2016 finals, comeback against the 73-win Golden State Warriors, and then the squad he left again in 2018, heading west to Los Angeles to pen the next chapter of his remarkable story. The absolute moment this Harden trade was formally announced, folks everywhere started chatting. And not just regular basketball talk or casual conversation about the deal. No, we're talking about the kind of wild speculation and conspiracy theories that keep NBA Twitter and Reddit awake at 3 in the morning, furiously typing away on their keyboards. Rampant rumors and conspiracy theories immediately began circulating that the Cavaliers were strategically positioning themselves for a potential 3rd stint by LeBron James. Numerous analysts and fervent fans suggested that this blockbuster deal creates the salary cap flexibility or the win-now championship caliber core that could potentially appeal to LeBron for a farewell tour or one final title chase in his beloved hometown. Now, is there any actual solid evidence that LeBron James is actively planning or even considering a return to Cleveland? Is there any definitive proof that this swap was part of some grand master plan engineered behind the scenes to bring the king back home one final time? No, not really, if we're being totally honest with ourselves. But that hasn't stopped anyone from wildly speculating. And frankly, can you truly blame them for doing so? LeBron James is currently playing for the Los Angeles Lakers, but the guy isn't getting any younger despite somehow defying the laws of aging and basketball mortality. At this advanced stage of his storied career, every single decision matters immensely. Every season could potentially be his last time suiting up in an NBA uniform. And the alluring idea of LeBron James finishing his career exactly where it all started back in Cleveland beside James Harden and Donovan Mitchell chasing one final title glory. That's the kind of storybook ending that Hollywood couldn't even write if they tried. Speaking of LeBron James, let's take some time to properly discuss the deep history between him and James Harden. Because these two iconic players have a long and complicated relationship on the basketball court that spans well over a decade. They faced each other a total of 47 times in NBA games, including both regular contests plus postseason games, with James maintaining the distinct lead at 28 wins to 19 losses. Inside the postseason, specifically, James totally commands the head-to-head ledger at 8-2, a fact simply declaring his unique capacity to raise his level when the stakes are at their absolute peak and everything hangs in the balance. Their head-to-head statistical means tell a gripping and telling tale about both men. James logs roughly 27.4 points, 6.9 boards, and 7.2 big assists in battles against Harden, proving his complete mastery and range. Conversely, Harden posts around 23 points, 5.9 boards, and exactly 8 dimes when playing James, proving his own supreme scoring and passing skills. Both guys are fully able to command any match at any specific time. However, James has routinely claimed all the edge in these battles during their long tenures. And then exists that notorious moment that hoops junkies still discuss to this present time. You know precisely which one I'm referencing. March 1st, 2015. During an heated Rockets-Cavaliers battle, Harden inadvertently struck James below the waist while on the floor following a dive for a stray ball. The officials on the floor called it a flagrant foul one, which permitted Harden to stay in the contest, but the league brass later analyzed the event and suspended him for one match without checks. James openly termed it not a basketball move, but also smoothly noted that it was simply two rivals fighting hard for the rock, dismissing any possible feud between them. That instance remains the most hostile physical dust-up between the two icons, although neither man has ever displayed any actual, lingering hatred or true malice toward the other in the season since. If anything, they consistently voiced mutual praise and appreciation for each other's skills throughout the years, in different interviews and public showings. Rumors suggested that the Cavaliers would happily welcome James back if he ever breaks from his current deal, or goes available via anyways. Theoretical columns and stories have already charted possible routes where Cleveland might potentially add more talent to their squad, ultimately including James and even his son Bronny. James for a historic super team drive in the Eastern Conference. The Lakers scenario and what the future brings. Now here is where this already gripping tale takes its most interesting and potent turn. Because while James Harden was formally dealt to the Cleveland Cavaliers in that massive trade, the chatter and theories surrounding the Los Angeles Lakers simply refused to die down no matter how hard anyone tried to shift the topic. And that leads us to the hot question that everyone and their dog has been asking since this entire drama began developing. What if James Harden had landed in purple and gold instead? What if the Beard and the King had truly combined powers on the exact same squad?
With that being said, I'm worried about what the Lakers are going to do this offseason. The Lakers don't have that much to spend. Shams also reported that LeBron James is most likely to opt in to his contract. So that already slims the chances of the Lakers trying to acquire someone with great skill level, especially in the big man level. If the Lakers do not make any moves for this offseason, if they have the same exact roster going into next season, then the Lakers are going to be in trouble because there's no way that they are going to be able to compete with the Western Conference opponents.
Look, the Los Angeles Lakers possess their own massive list of issues and hurdles to stress about that keep all the execs awake at night. This is a historic organization that is famous for one goal and one goal only during its rich past: hoisting title flags from the ceiling of their gym. That's the bar. That's the requirement. That's what it means to don the purple and gold. And right now, with the present team makeup, they hold. With the tricky money cap constraints they are managing, they're not exactly primed to battle at the top tier against the best squads in the Western Conference. The burden on the Lakers front right now is truly huge and constant. Head coach JJ Redick has already shown that he can get the group out of the hated play-in bracket, which is a solid feat in its own regard. But the hopes in Los Angeles are always rings or total and absolute failure. There is no ethical win in making it to the second round and putting up a stiff battle. There is no party for a tough series loss where the squad showed grit and will. The Lakers live in a reality where anything short of a title float down the roads of Los Angeles is viewed as gross defeat that requires instant shifts. If James Harden were dealt to the prevalent Lakers at some stage in the future, it would signal a huge late career change for the 36-year-old guard and totally shift the terrain of the Western Conference. Such a trade would demand massive and complex money matching, likely including guys like D'Angelo Russell, Rui Hachimura, or several other squad assets along with draft selections to sweeten the deal. But the hoop consequences of such a play would be truly enormous and earth-shattering for the whole association. Take a second to really ponder about and picture what a Harden James Anthony Davis unit might look like on the hardwood floor tonight. Harden's elite distribution talent and insane buckets would maximize LeBron's all-around brilliance and basketball IQ, paired with AD's interior power and defensive talent absolutely seamlessly. Picture Harden executing lethal pick-and-rolls involving Anthony Davis, generating wide-open perimeter looks plus thunderous lobs at the rim, while LeBron maneuvers off-ball or pushes the fast break in transition. This might theoretically forge a big three reminiscent of Harden's stint with the Brooklyn Nets alongside Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, potentially vaulting the Lakers' offense to historic heights. Yet here is the significant snag that can't be ignored in this equation. Both Harden and LeBron are high-usage icons who need the basketball in their hands to be maximally effective. They both seek to master the pace and flow of the game and control the rhythm on offense. Would Harden truly be ready to accept a more secondary role at this phase of his journey? Would his pride and his self-worth allow him to stand back and let LeBron run the show as the primary conductor? These are extremely tough questions that lack any simple or obvious answers. At 36 years old, with his basketball mortality staring him directly in the face, Harden's primary and overwhelming goal is painfully clear to anyone paying attention: a championship ring to put on his finger. He is ringless in finals appearances despite deep playoff runs throughout his legendary career with several different franchises. Joining the Lakers would theoretically align him with LeBron, a four-time NBA champion, plus Anthony Davis, a one-time NBA champion, offering a realistic and legitimate shot at finally snagging that elusive trophy that has escaped him for so long. But the risks involved are significant and cannot be ignored. Injury history looms large for all three aging stars, and the Western Conference is more competitive and loaded with talent than it has been in recent memory. Now, let's bring this entire saga back around to LeBron James and his reaction, or more accurately, his absolute lack of public reaction to the Harden deal. Here's the absolutely fascinating thing that has everyone talking. Unlike previous Harden trades where LeBron couldn't resist speaking or engaging, there's been no reported public statement from LeBron on this specific move to Cleveland. Complete and total radio silence from one of the most vocal and active social media users in professional sports. Now, think back to the year 2021 when Harden was traded to the Brooklyn Nets to form that much hyped super squad. LeBron went absolutely viral for his reaction to that blockbuster deal, and it became one of the most discussed moments of that entire NBA season. You might recall this if you were paying any attention to basketball social media at the time. LeBron reposted and openly laughed at a parody video created by comedian Mark Phillips of the popular RDC World Comedy Group that brilliantly mocked LeBron's alleged frustration about having to face yet another stacked super squad. In the hilarious clip, Phillips perfectly imitates LeBron, yelling at the top of his lungs. So, it's James, Durant, and Kyrie. I'm 36. I'm 36. Why is it everybody versus me? LeBron loved it so much that he shared it on his Twitter account with the caption, "I am 36. I am 36. Stop throwing the ball," followed by a string of angry and laughing emojis, showing the world he could take a joke, and found the humor in the speculation regarding his competitive situation. But this time around, absolute and deafening silence from the king. No viral tweets that break the internet. No Instagram stories with cryptic messages. No carefully crafted public statements that would send NBA Twitter and every sports media outlet into an absolute frenzy of analysis and speculation. LeBron James has said absolutely nothing publicly about James Harden being traded to his former team, the Cleveland Cavaliers, where he won his most memorable championship and cemented his legacy. And maybe, just maybe, that's the most telling and significant thing of all in this entire situation. Maybe LeBron's uncharacteristic silence speaks far louder than any words he could have possibly spoken or typed. Because let's be completely honest with ourselves here, LeBron James doesn't do anything by accident at this point in his career. Every single social media post is deliberate. Every public statement is carefully considered. Every interview answer is calculated for maximum effect. The man has been living under the brightest spotlight imaginable since he was a teenager, being called the chosen one on the cover of Sports Illustrated. He knows exactly how his words and actions will be interpreted and dissected by millions of people around the world. So why the silence this time? Is it because he genuinely doesn't care about this? A specific deal and it holds no weight on his coming moves? That feels incredibly doubtful considering the Cleveland dynamic, plus the rumors regarding his possible homecoming. Is it since he is quietly plotting something major that he strictly wants to withhold from the masses right now? That is surely feasible and fits his method of holding heavy choices tight to the chest. Is it because he is hyper-fixated on his squad and his own ends and won't aim to derail the Lakers' run with meaningless noise? That is also a totally logical rationale for a legend of his status and discipline. What we do grasp with total clarity is this. James Harden is now donning a Cleveland Cavaliers jersey. LeBron James is still dressing out for the Los Angeles Lakers. And the whole NBA terrain has been radically and forever shifted by this massive swap. This was undoubtedly a top shock of the whole 2026 trade deadline phase. The method was clearly cooperative rather than combative, which sits in sharp opposition to some of Harden's prior and more bitter splits from other clubs. The Clippers were not shocked into making a rash, frantic play. Rather, both sides agreed swiftly and respectfully on Cleveland as the prime spot among all the intrigued squads that came knocking. For James Harden specifically, this deal signifies just another section in a path that has been constantly marked by motion, shifts, and the unyielding chase of that distinct title. His life numbers speak for themselves and lock his rank among the finest ballers to ever grace the hardwood, seeing roughly 1,095 contests, 24.1 points, 5.6 boards, 7.3 assists, 44.2% from field, 36.4% from deep range, plus a solid 86% from the stripe. He's an 8-time All-NBA pick, a 3-time scoring king, a 2-time assist leader, and a figure whose creative mark on the sport of ball will be reviewed and dissected for ages to arrive. But the single stark void lacking from that otherwise flawless sheet is a championship ring. And at 36 years old, with his prime days past, James Harden knows deep in his gut that time is ticking away faster than he'd care to admit. The Cleveland Cavaliers are his best and maybe last real shot to finally grab that missing crown that has marked his path by its void. Whether he wins big or fails hard, whether this swap wins up being viewed as a stroke of art or a warning sign of waste, only the hoop gods know for sure, to right now. What we do know with total clarity is that the league will never get dull as long as guys like James Harden are game to hunt their title dreams with wild spirit, no matter how many times they must box up their stuff and shift to a new town to do it. And as for LeBron James, see, the king has always been wild throughout his storied run. Whatever he is thinking right now about this case, whatever schemes he might quietly hold for his future path, we will all just have to wait calmly and see how things break. One thing is totally sure, the whole basketball world will be looking closely as this saga continues to grow. Thanks for viewing. If you found this clip shocking and wild, be sure to see other similar and awesome clips on the screen. See you in the next one.